episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Listen, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm your host, Kim Jacobs, better known as the Balance Doctor. And all of our guests that come on, they're either people that have overcome some tremendous odds in their own lives as they balance this thing called life, or they're experts and they're here to share tips and strategies that will help you better balance and manage your life. Grab your virtual seats and let's get ready for some real, relevant, and relatable content on today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Kim Jacobs Show. I am super grateful to be here with you all today on this FreeStyle Friday. We have with us Natasha Halliday, we have Carrianne Hilliard, and we have Pastor Selwyn Davis. And so today on FreeStyle Friday, go ahead and grab your virtual seats and let us know where you're chiming in from. Again, our topics today are really surrounding topics that really might matter most to you. It's important for us to be able to have conversation and have a day where we can just talk about things that are plaguing us sometimes or bothering us. And we just need some solutions. Or even if we don't have all of the solutions, maybe just an opportunity to just vent, talk it through, pray for each other, pray for our world. All right, so that's already my vent for a few seconds, but we're in for a great discussion today. And I wanted to, as we get ready to start, have you, Natasha, and then Carrianne, and then you, Pastor Selwyn, just unmute your mics for a moment and just say one thing, just something, as we get ready to kick today's episode off. So Natasha, we'll start with you.
Well, good morning, all. What am I going to say? What I want to talk about a little bit is to pay attention to what you can handle.
Pay attention to what you can handle.
I'll explain that more later.
I was going to say prime example, something's happening that's out of her control over there, and she'll explain more later. All right, Carrianne.
Good morning. I hope everybody is doing well. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm going to be talking about a couple of different solutions that we can think about.
Awesome. Pastor Selwyn Davis.
Well, first of all, I would like to say hello to your audience, especially to this august panel. I want to say I'm forever a student. I'm actually here today to learn. And I say this because so many times I can't speak for everyone, but so many times in the church, it's almost like everything we do is within the four walls of what people are dealing with in the church, when the community could be dealing with a totally different issue. What I want to do is to be able to speak to not only the issues in the house, but issues in the community. So I'm here today as a student to learn.
Wow. Well, already you dropped knowledge that is teaching everyone that's tuning in. So you're more than a student to learn, even though I do agree in sharing that same philosophy. I don't ever want to arrive, just so everybody knows my thoughts too. I'm not interested in arriving because I believe at that point it's done on this earth and I've now gone to heaven. But I believe that there's something we can always learn and we can always glean from others. So as you all are chiming in, you have your own thoughts too. Please share those because we get a chance as panelists to be able to learn from you as well. And I do want to put this link in case somebody wants to pop on the screen with us, then it will bring you right into the broadcast. Now, when you come into the broadcast, you're going to be on the show. So don't look confused when I pull you in. Okay. All right. Mackenzie, if you would, backstage, pop some of the comments that are coming in from our studio audience so we can get them engaged right away. Let's see. Lady Justine Hilliard's on, and she said, good morning to everyone. Glad to have you. Robert White said, good morning, all. Good morning to you, Robert. Out of Philly. He's out of Philly. All right. See, some people do put their area codes and stuff. So I thought it was just me, Robert. I'd be like 757, but I didn't know if it was just me. But okay. Wait, go back. Blessings to everyone. Brandon Hinton said as well. Glad to have you. Vanita, good morning, everyone. She said, glad to have you, Vanita. Thank you for being in your virtual seat. Listen, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you already know topics that you want to talk about this hour, put it in the comment section so we do not overlook it. Say, I need to talk about this today. Brandon is the sound man for Pastor Selwyn Davis over at Servant Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. All right, so the sound man is here. All right, everybody, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come right back, we're going to go ahead and just jump right into our topics today. So we'll be right back right after this commercial break.
I'm attorney Charles Everidge. I started out representing insurance companies until my father was seriously injured at work. 4 of his fingers were amputated. Our family went through a lot, so I know what you're going through as an injured worker. If you've been hurt on the job, call me now. I'll fight to get the workers' comp benefits you may deserve. I'll fight for you like family. Put my experience to work for you. Call 704-457-5000, the first call for injured workers.
Sponsor Hunter Everidge with Hunter Everidge Law Firm. They are in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. They're also located in the Alabama area and in Richmond, Virginia. So make sure that you all stay connected with Hunter Everidge Law Firm, and we'll make sure you know throughout the broadcast how to do that. Their information is there for each of their locations. All right. So as we already start, let's kind of start with some of the heavy hitting stuff. There are young people being shot and killed, shot and traumatically injured and emotionally damaged for the rest of their lives. There's some stuff happening. People just making just a basic, honest mistake. And they're either losing their lives or they're being traumatized and scarred for life. Let's talk about this. Let's start just even with Ralph Yarl. He's 16-year-old. We many of us have heard the story. I cried. I'll tell you, I just cried. As a mom, I cried. I was like, how can this be? How can you reassure your children that when they walk out the house and just go to do a basic chore that you give them to do, that their lives may not be impacted forever? So you open up your mics and let's talk. Y'all are the panelists. I don't want to dominate. This young man he went to go pick his siblings up. We know they were twins. And if you don't know that story, you definitely can look up Ralph Yarl, Yarl, 16 years old, and went to go pick his siblings up because his mom said, hey, go pick your siblings up for me. I do that with my kids all the time. And I think he didn't have his cell phone or didn't have something. So when he went to go and pick his siblings up, he was trying to go off of memory. And he remembered some numbers that were similar to the house that he was supposed to go to pick them up. But he went to the wrong house. And as a result of that interaction, an 84-year-old man ended up shooting him in 2 different places, one of which is in the head. What in the world? This is not about color. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Somebody open up your mics, talk.
Yeah, it's really sad because we as people are not taking a moment to just pause and think about our actions. We're just reacting because we assume that the worst is happening instead of just pausing. If you take the 5-second rule and just pause for 5 seconds, that will kind of help you to at least hear what the person is saying. Because if you just hear them for 5 seconds, you'll understand that they're not trying to rob you or they're not trying to bring any harm to you. It's just that they're just trying to find their loved one. So I completely feel you when it comes to these kids and murdering and us losing our teenagers. I teach teens. So for me, it hits hard for me because I remember being a teenager myself, and my parents used to send me all the time, go pick up your siblings. Right. In this city that I stay in right now, when things were a lot worse, well, I don't know if we can say they were a lot worse than they are today because things are how they are. They're just bad. It's balance. We've been dealing with balance since the beginning of time, back to slavery days, back to the Bible days, back to this world being established, America even being established. It was balance then when we celebrated each fall for Thanksgiving, you know? That's just what we do. It's a part of our traditions. So I just want us to just take a few moments and just to pause before you react. Just take 5 seconds and think about it. And that's what I tell the kids to do all the time. Take a few moments, think about it. You know, you can't just keep going and going, you have to stop and you
Hmm.
have to pause and you have to understand that life is sad. You know, my parents just went to a funeral for another young person, 26 years old, and we celebrated the life of my child's father this couple just this week. So death is upon all of us, and if we don't take a few moments and just pause and think and how we can do better by making sure we help to stop the violence instead of creating more of it, then we got another thing coming. So that's my take on it.
Wow. Pastor Selwyn, Natasha.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, Beth.
oh no, please, I yield.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Part of
there's static in your background, Pastor Selwyn, so I just muted it when you're not speaking for a second. That's all.
Okay.
Go ahead, Natasha.
Yeah, when I heard about this, I mean, obviously so heartbroken for the family. And I think, what concerns me is the amount of fear people are living with. If the minute you see somebody who has black skin perceiving threat, there is a problem. And the fact that you have something that if you respond out of fear that can end a life, like the combination is horrible. And I think that we need to pay attention to what we're doing that's instilling so much fear in this society, so that people are walking around and fearing somebody simply because of their gender, maybe their skin color. And so this young man innocently went to the wrong door and was immediately perceived as a threat. There was nothing threatening about what he was doing. That I don't even know how we live in a world where this is even possible. It's heartbreaking. But what are we doing what is society doing that's causing this level of fear? Right? And that's part of why I started saying, pay attention to what you can handle. Because I think when we watch news all the time, that is both directly and indirectly putting out the narrative that Black men should be feared. If people are ingesting it too much, then this is the type of thing that can happen as a result.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I just heartbroken for this young man's family.
Yeah. And I actually was listening to an interview with his mom, Cleo Nagby, and she was on with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'll put the article, the actual interview, in the comments section for you all to go back and watch it as well. It was on MSNBC. And what she said is that every day he wakes up with headaches. And this is something that is a constant recurring of the incident, is what I'm quoting her to say, because she talks about the fact that every single night she doesn't have to ask him how he's doing. She says she can see how he's doing and how it's impacting him, to the point where every day he's awakened with some significant headaches. And I saw another interview on CNN with his aunt that was on there, and she said, look at this gentleman, he's not threatening in any way. I mean, he's the complete opposite of anything that even looks like a threat. He's like the most gentle looking kid, and he's doing just a chore that a mom gave him. And so I'm grateful that you shared what you just shared as well, Natasha. And I'm gonna open your mic up, Pastor Selwyn.
If I could just add one thing quickly,
Please.
too. I think that one of the things that sometimes we forget is what the ripple effect is. And sometimes the ripple effect is how many young Black men now are living with anxiety because they're fearful to leave their house, because they don't know if they're going to be somebody's target for just being a Black male. And I know from when there's been incidences of violence in the city that I live in, and I work in adolescent mental health, how the amount of young people, the schools are talking about it, the amount of young people who become more anxious about what's happened. And I think, I prayers and love to the family, but I think we also need to pay attention to how are we supporting our young Black people in general. We do not want them to walk out of their house living in fear, but now it's getting harder to not have them do that because of the things that are happening. So I think I hope parents are paying attention to their young people as well, to talk to them about, how are you handling this? Parents know how they feel as parents, but are we checking in with our young people about how they're feeling about these types of incidences?
That's an important point to make. And I would love to hear any of you all that are in the studio audience. First of all, I hope that you're sharing the broadcast with all of your friends. All of us know people that are parents, fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles that care about our children, community members, teachers. Everyone should be tuning in to learn how we can support each other and definitely support our young people. We don't even know what the young people are thinking if we aren't talking to them. That's why I made sure Carrianne Hilliard was on today as helping adolescents speak out. So, Carrianne, one question I have for you to think about after Pastor Selwyn speaks is, how do you encourage a young person to speak out about all of this violence and things that's happening? What maybe is a good question to even have a conversation starter? So think about that. And Pastor Selwyn, you can go now.
Well, thank you. I was just going to say, especially as I'm listening to both of the panelists here, it's really a travesty that we have to teach our children the things that we do, and that, in addition to how to communicate, how to respond to the police, how to carry yourself. Now it's almost as if we have to teach our children how to not make a mistake. And I believe that part of it is just not reasonable because we make mistakes. So you mean to tell me I can't ring a wrong doorbell? I can't drive into the wrong driveway because I simply made a mistake? And you're right. I think it transcends race, although we know a lot of it is because, and that was my word exactly, fear. And I think it's fear propagated on both sides of the fence, with media and the things that they show and how they try to politicize certain things. But at the end of the day, I don't care anything about that. I care about the lives of our children. And my thing is, what is the solution? People get offended these days when you say prayer, thoughts in prayer. And some get outright offended. But no, we absolutely need to continue to pray. But we also need to take action. And how this action looks, I don't know. But I would love to know how we can address this so that our children are prepared for this kind of thing. So our children know. I just don't believe, again, it's reasonable to tell them don't make mistakes, because they are. We can teach them to be more aware. We can teach them that, hey, even if you go down the wrong road, turn around quickly. Don't turn in anybody's driveway. But I don't see why we have to do that. But obviously, we're in a time now where we do.
This is crazy. I'm so grateful that you're saying that, because that you cannot teach people to not make a mistake, because that's going to happen. And we know that. And so it's inevitable. So how do you shield yourself or protect yourself from just being human, basically?
Right. Yeah. And
It's
if
not.
you think about our children today, I think about my 10-year-old, how she's just well, 11-year-old now, but she's just so full of life. And one thing that I know the children in this generation do is they ask a lot of questions. And sometimes
Right.
they're really, really distracted, and sometimes they don't mean any harm, but I just don't see them not making mistakes. And I think when my daughter's old enough to drive, am I even comfortable? Now there's some fear with me because I don't even want her to go to the mall by herself. So
Right.
my thing is, I hate what we're becoming, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure our children are protected.
Wow. Really great comments. Really great comments. And Carrianne, I would like for you to unmute yourself and go ahead and make your comment as well. Then what we're going to do is go to some of the studio audience comments as well.
Okay, so when raising my daughter, I would let her know, like, I didn't do it at first, but later on, I created a safe space and let her know that, hey, this is a safe space. Whatever's going on in your mind and your heart, we need to just talk about it, whatever it is. And then as a parent, we have to make sure that you mm, don't make those faces, and
Right.
you don't interrupt. When you're interrupting them when they're talking, that just throws them for a loop. They lose
It's
their
over.
train of thought. Like it is crazy when you interrupt them when they're talking, because they're ready to speak out about what's going on, but when they get interrupted. And then another thing, you just ask them a simple question like, how are you feeling? And you be real and direct. Hey, this is what's going on in TV. How do you feel when you go to school and you have to witness this type of violence that's going on? You just ask them, different questions, and then you be open to the answers. And then that's when you start saying, hey, okay, so on this side of town, these are the things that you have to watch out for on this side of town. Like my car is it had tinted windows, and on certain sides of town, because it's a Nissan Altima, you have to be careful. And that's just the reality of it. So I let her know, as well as other kids know, that hey, in certain parts of town, you have to be more aware of your surroundings. You have to look around. You have to pay attention. You have to accept yourself for who you are, because yes, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And yes, God is with you everywhere you go. But in certain areas, God will even alert you to, hey, pay attention. Hey, don't do this. Don't go this way. He was doing that to me the other day. I was walking somewhere, and next thing I know, he's like, pay attention. I'm like, oh, okay, let me focus. And that's what it's all about. So that's the kind of conversation starters that you can have with your young people. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's challenging. But as a parent, you have to go ahead and take the lid off. You know, that silence that we've been holding on to, that we don't want to talk about, those hard conversations. Have the hard conversations, please, because you will save your baby's life by having those hard conversations. And if you need some help, you can call me. I'll help you. You can call all of these people on the line. They will help you. We got a pastor. We have a mental health advocate on here. We are the Kim. She's been through so many things. We can all help you to have great conversations with your kids, so that way they won't be living in fear, but they can live that God has their back, and that you as their parent will have their back too. So I hope I answered your question.
You more than answered my question in a fantastic way. So thank you. And I can tell you from my own perspective too, that I actually have family meetings with my children, and we do that every single week. And the reason we do that is because it's for lots of reasons. We do it from a business perspective because each of us have access to resources that the other one may not have been exposed to that week. So we share those resources. And then we also talk about some of the things like this. How are some of the things impacting you? What's working well with how you're dealing with some things mentally, and what is really kind of aggravating you in this process? And people get a chance to share their thoughts on some of these things as well. And then also things that they're working on. Like my daughter's writing a book right now, and she's working on certain animations. So she wants everybody to come in and see what she's drawn from scratch. So each person gets a chance to just know that there is an outlet. And I love everything you said, Carrianne, because it's true. And I didn't even notice it until this week myself with my own children. One of my sons was asking me something, and he said, Mom, I want you to take a look at this. And it was something he was working on. And I was in the middle of doing something else. And I realized out of the corner of my eye that was aggravating him. So what you just said really is so true. So what I did was I said, hey, do me this favor. Let's wait for just about 2 to 3 minutes. And then what I'm going to do is give you my undivided attention. And he was like, cool. And then that kind of, then he came back in, he shared it from scratch, and he was motivated about sharing it. So I love what you're sharing. And one more thing I'll say is I wrote in my book, you know how you say you wrote a book about it, right? I literally did write a book about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you did too. You wrote that book about it, put it back up, helping adolescents.
No, this is the single parent book for parents. Yeah, but the Help Adolescents book is going to come out later on this year.
I keep that right here. Overcoming single parent obstacles. Girl, look, I have like over 1,000 books, right? All throughout the house. I had a bunch of books, some in the garage. I can't even fit them in the house. But I keep this one right here. So close to my heart. Anyway, so I also wrote a few books as well, one collaborating authors and stuff, but the Extreme Balance Makeover, that particular book is tips filled with things that I talked about on NBC as their balance expert. And in that, every topic that I talked about for like a long period of time, I printed them and put them in a book called Extreme Balance Makeover. So how to balance a parent-teen relationship is in that book. That's the reason I'm telling you that. So you can go to kimjacobshow.com and get a copy of that book if you're interested. All right. Wow. Let's go to some of the studio audience comments. What are people saying to what Natasha, Pastor Selwyn, and Carrianne just said? Let's see. Hand claps. Robert White said, bravo, bravo. Keep praying, but also take action. That's from our mental health expert right here, Natasha Halliday. Vanita says she shared the broadcast. Thank you, Vanita. Any other comments? Watching and sharing. Thank you, Facebook user. Any others? Okay, I cried when I read about that young man, Ralph. Yes. Vanita said that. The man said that he felt threatened by him, which is so crazy, according to what Vanita said and what's been said right from him as a quote. I believe we should go back to sitting down at the table together with our families without cell phones or TV and just share our thoughts with our children. This lets them know that they are not alone. Anybody want to speak to that too?
I'll just say this. Kudos to whoever said that. I think many of us.
Oh, my mom is saying this stuff. She said, "Love this, mom." Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're too distracted by phones, by cell phones, by devices, and a lot of this speaks to even we'll go back to some of the mistakes we make because we're just so distracted. And in terms of having the conversations that the young woman spoke about, you know what, we need to be more intentional about doing those, and we need to do it without the use of cell phone. I can drive down the interstate and there's a car in front of me and everyone else is going 65, 70. This car's going 45. And when you go around to pass it, they're literally driving, looking down into their phone. We're just so distracted. So yes, the fact that we intentionally sit down and talk about some of these things, when you do reports on this, I think it was something crazy like people on average touch their phones 2,500 times a day. And you're right. We need to get back to some intentional one-on-one, not only with just our children, but with people in general. So thank you.
Great comment. Thank you so much. And mom, since I know that's you that's making the comment, can you do me a favor and grab me a bottle of water and bring the conversation starters, the table topics? I know you're watching, so can you please do that for me right quick? I was trying to think of how to kind of get her attention, but anyway. All right. So let's see. That was a great comment, and I think that was just some good discussion around Ralph. I'm praying for his family, like you said, Carrianne, already. Praying for his family, praying for him to completely recover, and that God would restore him back to even greater than he was, because God has a real special purpose, I'm sure, for him to be able to impact the masses, and he lived to be able to do that. For whatever the reason, God has some special plans for that young man. Prayer with our, I gotta put my glasses back on. Somebody else read that for me right quick.
It says, prayer without the work just don't work. Wow. Yeah. That's that James, 2? Faith in action.
Faith in action.
Oh, my mom said that's from me, Lady Justine. She also texted me some other comments that I'm going to share with you all.
Oh, your mom said that.
Yeah, my mom said that.
Look, that's funny because we have both moms on here. So my mom is sending me. She got you
the water in the car.
Your mama typing. Your mom like, wait a minute now. Wait 1 minute. That long paragraph came from me, Lady Justine Hilliard.
She got some more information right here on my phone. She says, we teach them. So my mother, her and my father were both educators, like school system from the time I was a little girl to up until my daughter was a little girl. So 20 plus years in the school system. She says, we teach them to go to someone in authority that they trust. She don't play that about kids being hurt. She don't play. Someone who they feel comfortable and safe and who they believe in, and then tell them not to keep secrets from their parents. I don't know how many secrets I kept from them, but they always found out because the Holy Spirit told them. So I don't know what I thought I was doing, but that's what it's all about. We got to make sure that we get our kids speaking. If we can just get them talking, or if we can get them to write it down. Sometimes when you have them to draw a picture, like this notebook is full of pictures. My nephew, Carson, he comes over sometimes and he draws pictures. So he's telling me something. he's showing me what he wants. He drew a whole apartment complex and he's like, we stay on the top floor. So they will tell you in different ways. Even my grandbabies, like they start pointing and they say little things, and it's like, oh, you can't talk, but you can talk. So we have to understand their language. We all have our love language. Kids have their own language that they use when they don't use their words. They'll speak out with their actions. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
That's so good. I'm glad you're saying it. Listen,
And
we're
I
going to
like
take a
to say
quick.
something.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you need to take a break. I can say it when we come back.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come right back and hear from Pastor Selwyn Davis, because it's going to be deep, y'all. So you might as well get your minds right. We'll be right
I
back.
have peace of mind with Silver Shield Security, which has been protecting my family and home, along with servicing the Carolinas for over a decade. Silver Shield Security knows the importance of convenience and safety. Whether you live in an apartment, a home, or run a business, they are here to protect you from unwanted intrusions and fires. Call now at 704-440-4688 or visit the website at www.silvershield-security.com. You can use my promo code #ToneX and get 1/2 off your installation price. Don't forget to ask about the new no money down options. Let Silver Shield Security help to give you peace of mind, just like me and my family, and keep your business safe.
We are back, and we are talking with some of our Freestyle Friday experts, Pastor Selwyn Davis, pastor at Servant Church in Charlotte, North Carolina, Carrianne Hilliard, who is the author of Helping Overcoming, I should just keep this in my hand. Okay, Overcoming Single Parent Obstacles. And she also helps adolescents speak out. And Natasha Halliday, who is a mental health expert and therapist. So those are the people that you are being graced with the presence of today here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Tell us what your comment was, Pastor Selwyn.
I just wanted to say there was something that Carrianne said at the beginning that's just paramount as it relates to having these conversations, because to have a fully transparent moment, that's the way that I am with my 11-year-old daughter, or was, should I say, where I always wanted to give my point of view. I would literally cut her off because I'm like, I don't even want you. I've made more mistakes than you'll probably ever make. I don't want to hear it. And as a result of that, she really only has like surface conversations with me. And I picked her up from school the other day. This is just a couple of days ago. I picked her up from school and asked her how her day was. She, oh, it's fine. And then as I'm in the car, she literally calls her mom and says, I had the best day ever. I can't wait to tell you about it. And I'm like, and I'm sitting right here beside you, and you can't tell me, little girl, you're about to get out, But it just goes to show. And my wife tells me all the time, she was like, you really can't say certain things to little girls, or you really need to, everything can't be a quote unquote churchy answer or a dad answer or Marine answer. So I'm learning in my tender years how to be, because we came from a time, and I think you can attest to it, where parents, especially dads in that sense, they weren't really friends. They were more protectors than anything else. But with everything that we're dealing with now, we absolutely have to be able to adapt. I just wanted to make that point.
That's a great point to make. Great point. I also wanted to make this point too, that this is really kind of dusty looking. It's not dusty, but we literally handle it so much over the years. These are called table topics. And when my children were growing up, I'm telling you, I don't know, you can get them on Amazon, wherever you want to get them. It's not any that I personally have, but in our house, even now, just as recent as the other day, 2 days ago, one of my sons, 18 years old, Jeremiah, he was like, hey, let's do some table topics. And so we just randomly pick a card. And in the card, it's any topic. It says, if you had 3 wishes, what would they be? This is that particular conversation starter. This one says, why would you rather be a girl or a boy? Why? And you get, what family or school rule would you most like to change? These are some good conversation starters, and we just have a whole conversation. Each person answers the question, and we have some hearty discussions surrounding these. What's your favorite story about one of your ancestors? I learned so much about my children from just here pulling these cards out for years. I'm talking about when they were little kids, the same set of cards. And I may reword the question a little bit differently because I know it's a question maybe that we did. One would say, would you rather be on a winning team and be a big fish in a little pond, or would you like to be on a losing team and be it's all kind of questions. This question. If you were president for one day, what would you do to change the world? All kind of stuff. So make sure you all get something like that. It might help your family too. All right. More comments from the studio audience. Let's do that. And then we'll go to some more topics here. And you know what? My person backstage is not there, so I'm going to have to help myself here for a minute. Okay, good morning. Athena said, our sunshine expert. Please chime in, sunshine expert, and feel free to come on screen if you like with any of your thoughts as well. She's one of our Freestyle Fridays experts as well. And then somebody said, that's a great idea about the cards. Let's see. I see all of your comments, Floyd. You're awesome. Okay. You all are so awesome with so much knowledge to share. Your wisdom with your children and other children is so important. This is Lady Justine Hilliard that's making that comment. She like, don't get it twisted, girl. I'm not doing all this typing just for finger purposes. All right. And then let's see. Tasha says, I love the concept of the family meeting. Thank you all for continuing to share via your platforms. And that's so see, by you all sharing on your platforms, they get the opportunity to be exposed. Creating that safe space. Apostle Dennis Hilliard is on. Thank you so much, Apostle, for being on today. We honor you and thank you for being here. And he said, creating a safe space. Yes. Okay. And Lady Hilliard still like, girl, I done took and told you. That's what she said. That, I think she typed that a few times. She's funny. Okay. I believe we should go back to sitting down. That's her comment. Lady Justine Hilliard. All right, y'all. Keep your comments coming through. Another thing that I wanted to discuss is Kailyn, because I know a lot of times when people are talking about the young man that got shot, for example, he's an African-American male. He survived. He's 16 years old. But there's a whole different situation with a Caucasian young lady, and her name is Kailyn Gillis. And guess what? She turned into the wrong driveway. Her and some friends of hers, I think it was like 3 other friends, they were just going to a party and turned into the wrong driveway by accident. Do you know how many people do that? I've done that. I have pulled into a driveway up by my local gym, and I realized, I forgot something. I turned back around, and this man came out and started screaming and hollering to the top of his lungs, cussing and saying everything. And I could not go back out because traffic was behind me. So I'm sitting in the man's drive. I wasn't even in way up the road into his driveway. I was right into the entrance, but it's still, guess what? Private property. So I got ready to step out. I stepped out of the car to say, sir, and then I realized, I better get back in this car because that might be your last words. And I quickly backed out, almost went into a ditch and got out of there. That happens. Anybody unmute yourselves. Does that happen?
I think it happens all the time. And when I read this story, I think about all of those, especially in this post-pandemic society, all of the people that are drivers. When you look at your Amazon Flex drivers, how many times when they're looking for addresses at night do they pull into the wrong driveway? And I just don't think you should lose your life for making a mistake, especially when you're not posing a threat. And I've heard the story even before when someone's not wearing a reflective vest or what have you. And back to Natasha's point, are we living that much in fear that no one can even enter our driveway? And it's a travesty. It's a travesty.
That's good. Good point. It's a travesty. It's ridiculous. It's uncalled for. Now, this young lady, 20 years old, I'm going to go ahead and put her up because all I'm doing is just showing all of the different images that are right there. I was going to download a few pictures, but the amount of pictures that are out here on these children or young adults, I should say, and this young lady here, I'll pull her in right now, Kailyn. she's not here to be able to live to tell her story any longer of what happened. This is unacceptable. She turned into the wrong driveway and shots were fired by a 65-year-old man. And guess what? One of those shots killed Kailyn. I want to know your thoughts in the studio audience about this story. Because I mean, I know again, as a mom, this kind of stuff, this plagues me. And it's not, I don't look at it from just a race perspective only. This is a 20-year-old young lady, and her mom and dad are devastated. Her family members are devastated because her life is now taken away. And actually, her mom is Angelique and her dad is Andrew. And they say in a post that they had put on Monday that she's a ray of light and a kind, beautiful soul who was taken way far too soon, just months of shy of starting college in Florida. She's a big sister, a much loved daughter, devoted friend, a partner to her loving boyfriend, and she was just beginning to find her way in the world with kindness, humor, and love. And I'll put that article in the comment section for you all to be able to later reference. Unmute yourselves and say anything that you feel, Natasha, Carrianne, Pastor Selwyn, and studio audience members.
I'd go back to what I started to say with the other young man, because these beautiful young people who are losing their lives, we're seeing the evidence of being consumed by fear, because there's so much being put out there that's teaching us that essentially everybody's a threat. What makes you shoot somebody in your driveway? They haven't done anything to you. That makes no sense. But if fear is the narrator, it's going to tell you to do things that are irrational. And so we have to pay attention. I tell people all the time, I'm a therapist, I tell my clients all the time, our point of ingestion is not just our mouth. Our eyes and our ears are points of ingestion. Are we having emotional and mental indigestion because we're saturated with things that are teaching us to be fearful, that are teaching us that we can't trust anybody? It's important to be alert and to be astute about ways to stay safe, but not everything is a threat to our safety. And then worse, if we have things that can be lethal, then now we're pairing fear with a lethal thing. If there was no gun, what could he have done? Come out and yelled? You gave an example, Kim, of somebody yelling at you. Not pleasant to experience, but it didn't create any physical harm. It didn't end your life. If all he could use was his voice, this young woman would still be alive. But he had a tool that can result in death. And so when you pair that with fear, we're seeing over and over again the evidence of why we have to be really cautious about how much fear we're taking in. And that's why I started with pay attention to what you can handle, because we may watch CNN all the time and not realize that the daily impact of being poured into all this information is resulting in a lot of fear and potentially paranoia. And so I think we need to guard what we watch, guard what we hear, and check in within ourselves about the impact on self. I'm a therapist. Do I watch the news? Most of the time, no, because I spend all day long listening to tragedy, all day long listening to trauma. Why am I going to sit down with my cup of tea and when I'm trying to unwind, listen to more? I still learn about most of the most important things that are happening in our world without spending an hour ingesting stuff that's going to saturate my spirit with more negativity. I'm not saying I want to be in the dark about things, but we really got to pay attention to how much we take in, because what we don't realize is our bodies and our minds hold that stuff.
Yes,
so
mine does.
We come to a point where when there's no more space, when it's up to here, it starts to boil over. And so checking in with yourself about how much have I taken in? What impact is it having on me? Do I need a break from some of this stuff? Because otherwise, then we see these things where people are walking in complete fear and acting so irrationally. There's no reason that you should perceive somebody in your driveway who is probably going to leave when they discovered they're in the wrong driveway as a threat.
I'm glad you're saying that. Very glad. Okay. Anybody else have comments?
I totally agree with that. That is so true. I don't watch the news either. but I end up hearing it or get Apple News, on your iPhone, it's always showing. And another reason I don't is because I'm always trying to teach the kids from a positive perspective. So you cannot pour in positive, you can't pour out positive things and good things if you're constantly listening to negative stuff. And I know I tell people all the time when I'm like, sometimes the TV is going and I hear the different commercials. And it's like, can you just turn that off, please? Because some of the commercials that every advertisement that you find on this device, on your laptop, on TV, sometimes even just going shopping different places and hearing other people's conversation, they're always negative. So in order for us to create a more positive world, we people have to make those changes. We have to be like the pastor and we got to preach the word of God. Jesus is the only thing that's going to save us, along with all the resources that he's created through pastors and therapists and different service providers such as myself that are out there in the community, on these streets, trying to make sure that we create change within. It has to start from within. We all have to make a vow to, let's put ourselves on timeout when it comes to screen time. We're making sure that the kids, they only get an hour or 2 hours if you can, but we got to put ourselves on timeout. No, I'm not going to watch the 10 o'clock news because I already saw it at 12 and it's the same stuff. So therefore, let me slow down on that. And if the whole world can do that, watch how things just shift. And now social media is not the way that we get all of our information, but we go to it more for good things. So that's all I'm saying. We just need more good things that we're listening to outside of all the negativity.
Okay. Interesting philosophies. Anybody else have any comments pertaining to this? And I see some in the studio audience. So let's take a look at what you all are saying as well. I have my own views too about the news and media. I think that because I've also been in news and dealing with that from a reporting perspective, I know that literally they're just being the vessels to share the information to bring you up to date or up to speed with what's happening in with the school shootings and what's happening. It's stuff that these are not things that they're just pulling out of their brains. They're pulling out information that's really happening around the world. So I have a different philosophy pertaining to that. I definitely get overwhelmed by it. And I definitely have to do what you said, Carrianne, and what you're saying, Natasha. I have to kind of limit it and make a conscious choice that, okay, I'm cutting it on now, and I'm not going to watch this again for this amount of time because it's too much for me personally, what I have to digest or ingest with this, because it physically impacts me. And I know that about myself. So you have to kind of know your body and know your mind. But I also thank the people that are sharing information, because other than that, I wouldn't have a clue what's going on. I see it on my phone when I choose to see it, because I don't always just watch it, but I'll see a news break or news cutting, news alert, and different things. And it's still news. So it doesn't matter whether watching it or getting it on my phone. All right, let's see. Too much. Somebody said, and Pastor Selwyn, if you had a comment, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I definitely agree with all of you. And the Bible even talks about protecting your ear gates and your eye gate. Yes. I think that there has to be, you have to have time to compartmentalize what you're seeing and hearing. You have to be able to decompress, because a lot of this stuff, to Natasha's point, drives you to fear, especially when you get so much of it. It's just instinctively, there's no way that you can not be fearful, especially for your children or for your loved one, when you hear all of these things happening, because it just makes it seem like, it's just a matter of time before we're going to be faced with this, and I just, I don't like to watch too much of it, but then it's almost like you're not in tune if you don't. So there is that balance, but it's just, one of my mentors always told me, don't come to me with just the problem, also come with the solution.
Yes.
And I just think that if, obviously, I don't necessarily expect solutions to come from news, but I think when we hear these things, if it's something that presents itself as a problem, then we should look to find the solution or find those that have given a solution to what we're dealing with.
I'm really glad you said that. Yeah. And I hear solutions even in our conversations, and I want to kind of point those out. What I heard Natasha say is stop giving kind of the tools that would allow people to be able to do this type of violent act on someone else. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing you say, Natasha? Yeah. But then that
Yeah, I
opens.
think that the combination of if you're consumed with fear and you have a device that can do that, it is dangerous, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually what the grandson and the ex-wife of the person that shot Ralph. I don't like to give the bunch of names and stuff and give credence to people that are doing that if possible, but those people said that he was consumed with exactly what you're talking about, things that were kind of driving forces. So wow. Okay. Oh, this is a good discussion. Too much negativity on the news, someone said. Let's see. News, media, internet, etc., is causing people to freak out and really need more positivity along with godly people around them. This is a very sad situation. Thank you so much, Lady Hilliard, for your comment. I appreciate it. And let's see, anybody else had comments too? This is sad. This is sad that people are living in fear and they shoot before they ask. And Lady Justine said that. Yes, that's amazing. And I see you. Hello, Tracy. Okay, and Natasha is recognizing one of her special guests in the studio audience. If you stay tuned to the Holy Spirit, it will send warnings for your children, Lady Justine said. Lots of great comments, you all, that are coming in. Thank you so much for taking the time to type that much. Banging. What did somebody say? Banging my hands together. Robert is over there. He's like, oh, bravo. Okay. He is really enjoying it. Thank you so much, Carrianne, as what your mom said. And then Vanita said, I try not to watch too much news because it's quite overwhelming. And then my mom, now between my mom and your mom, they battling basically. Oh, Ella said this. I purchased the book, 3001 Questions About Me. I think it's an amazing book to share with your families. We will learn so much about ourselves and our families. Mom, thank you so much for that recommendation too. That's a good idea. All right, so on to some other news. There's been so much happening. Freestyle Friday isn't even a news show. That's not what we do here on Freestyle Friday. But we wanted to just acknowledge some of the things that's been happening. Harry Belafonte passed away. And if anybody wants to unmute to say anything that you want to say pertaining to his passing. And then also Jerry Springer passed away as well. And he was in the talk show world, so we know that. And even as crazy as the shows were, off the chain, bizarre, crazy, he stood out and he did some pretty interesting things to try to make himself be remembered for what he brought to society. And I don't think anybody's going to forget Harry Belafonte, and definitely won't forget Jerry Springer either. So I just wanted to at least acknowledge that. And if you all would unmute yourselves and say anything else that's kind of on your hearts. And Natasha, you can start if you want.
I think just, when we hear about celebrities dying, that becomes more viral than just hearing about somebody else who passes.
Right.
And, in the face of death, we often reflect on our own lives. And I think what's so beautiful is now we live. This is one of the things that I think is great about social media, right? Or about media, period. You can read about somebody's life. And so sometimes I have moments when other people pass and I think, what would I want said about me? Which puts me in a place of checking, am I living the life that I want to live or God purposed me to live? Because I want what it to be said about me is what God wanted to be, what happened in my life. So I'm very, sometimes I have reflective moments when I hear about the passing of others, because it gives me an opportunity to check in with self and say, so am I living in line with God's purpose for my life? And if somebody were to write my obituary today, what could be said?
I love that. And yeah, that's really inspiring. And Carrianne or Pastor Selwyn, anybody have any additional comments?
I'll say, well, of course, we know Jerry's show was so entertaining, and I'm sure people have different takes on it, but it was a part of our culture. As far as Harry Belafonte is concerned, one thing Dr. King said, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said you don't really, you can't tell a person's character by how they respond in good times, but essentially how they respond to adversity. And for Harry Belafonte, with this rich legacy that he leaves behind, one thing that stands out is that he was one of the few that befriended Dr. King when everyone else was against him, even when his own people were against him after he had spoken out against the war. And just like what Natasha said, when you start to read these things and you find out things of these people that you may not have known, these stories that they share, that's one thing I found out about him, is how he continued to be a close friend to that family, and how he even, according to Dr. King's daughter, did some things to, fund them, paying for babysitters and the whole nine. So it just speaks to his character overall. And we've lost a giant.
Yeah, I just like to put, just want to put different photos and things up, because he's going to be remembered forever. And I wanted to just acknowledge him on today's show as well, and give you all a chance to speak about it and about him if you had any comments. Okay. Anybody else? Carrianne, did you have any comments?
Yeah, I appreciate that Jerry Springer, he lived a different life than Harry. And I appreciate both men doing whatever it was on their hearts to do, to be able to be in the world and do something that was their ways of having their own solution of who they choose to be in the world. And that's what it's all about. Each one of us, like I said earlier, we have to choose who we're going to be in the world. And I choose to be the visionary of Help Adolescents Speak Out, the lady who's going to get kids to speak out in a positive way. If I have to go out there and, I've been out there doing it alone, but I'm going to start bringing in more people. But that's what it's all about. We got to be the solution, be the change that you want to see. And it's up for us to do that. And we're over here, we're doing our parts. We're just sharing what we do on a day-to-day, along with, I release my personal story. This is a resource for the parents, and then a lot of times people don't figure out who God is for themselves. That was one of the things he wanted me to share. You have to figure out who God is for yourself, and you've got to build your personal relationship with him. That's what helped so many people to be who they are, to be able to provide resources to each and every person. So that's just my 3 nuggets that I want to drop to you. Thank you.
I am really glad that you dropped those nuggets, and I share the same sentiments. I do not want to go to my grave and have my gifts and my talents surrounding my bedside saying that they were disappointed that they were placed in my body. And Les Brown often talks about that when he says, live full and die empty. All of us, we have gifts, we have talents that God trusted us with. So we have to use those gifts to salt this earth. And the whole world misses out if you don't use the gifts that he gave you, that he put down on the inside of you. So don't think or minimize what the gifts are that he's put inside of you. He gave it to you for a reason, and we all impact people differently. So some people will never come in here from me, but they may only hear from you, but you won't do what you're told to do. So we have to step out and do what God has called us to do. All right. Any other comments? Because we're going to close in 2 minutes. And so we have 2 more minutes. Let's see any studio audience comments, and you all can get your closing comment together if you want. My mom said, Newport news, so much bad news daily. The 3 of you have given great statements and solutions. Well, Ma, you didn't say 4. I'm one of them. She's just recognizing y'all. I'm your child, Mama. Come on, recognize. My mom has inspired me my whole life. She told me I could do anything I put my mind to, and I was never limited to my circumstances. All right. Harry Belafonte. This is from Lady Justine Hilliard. She said, Harry Belafonte made great contributions in the civil rights to help change the world while marching with Dr. Martin Luther King, and we will miss him dearly in his music and great acting. May he rest in peace. My dear friend played in his band. Go ahead, Lady Justine. Amen. Carrianne Hilliard. And that's true, Kim Jacobs. All right. Well, closing comments. I think today's conversation was kind of robust. What do you all think from our freestyle? Much needed, I think. Okay.
Absolutely, it was much needed. And I will say this, so to the people that's in the Charlotte area, if you have any young people and they need help with resources, we're doing a free course right now. It's called Resiliency with Love. We'll be doing it until June the 1st. You can go to the Help Adolescents Speak Out website. You can sign your child up for free, and I will help them learn how to be more resilient in a loving way. So thank you.
Wow. Okay. So y'all, that's how you stay connected with Carrianne Hilliard. And say it one more time, Carrianne, so they know how to stay connected.
Resiliency with Love. You can stay connected with me on my website, which is helpadolescentsspeakout.com. You can go straight to that website. You can sign up for the Resiliency with Love course. Or if you're a parent and you need this book and part 2 is coming out next in June, you can go to my personal website, which is my first and last name, carriannehilliard.com. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Natasha, if you could, please tell them how they can stay connected with you and make any kind of closing comment. Oh, wait, this is my child's school, so I'm going to have to mute the phone, y'all. Go ahead, carry on.
So for my closing comments, just, we talk, there's a lot going on in the world. Check in with yourself, check in with your loved ones, have conversations, don't hold it inside. How people can get in touch with me on social media, they can find me at Natasha A. Halliday, and my website is natashahalliday.com.
Okay, and I'll just say number one, like I said, I'm a student, so I enjoyed hearing from you. I think from the standpoint of the church, what we should do, not to suggest that some aren't, but I think what we need to do more of, and I'm speaking to myself namely, is we can't be the master of everything, and I think we need to find reliable partners that are experts in areas where we're novices, and let's partner with these to make sure that the community gets what they need. When I hear some of the things that you're offering, those resources, that's something I would absolutely love to be able to offer to the people in our church and to the people that are familiar with what we do. Because again, you're an expert in it. And the second thing I'll say is, I just believe that if we learn how we're wired, to Mother Ella's point, and spend time intentionally learning how others are wired, just in terms of their thought patterns and whatever the case is, how they respond to certain things, I think we will do so much more together. So many times, if people don't conform to our way of thinking, we tend to just shut down and cut them off, and that's your business. But I think if we take some time to lend to see how others think the way they think and why they do, that we'll get a lot farther. So thank you.
Y'all are wonderful, wonderful panel of experts. I'm so grateful that you all took the time to be here today. And as you can see, I don't want to say I'll unravel, but I don't care nothing about no show, nothing else when it comes to my child's school call. I'm like, goodbye, and I will be gone. But that's my priorities. And I know that you have to be able to prioritize things that you say really do matter. Then why are you still talking and the school is calling? Mute yourself and get on that phone, and that's what the priority is. So I'm honored to be able to host this show. I hope that you all will continue to pour into the broadcast. I give different ways that you all can support the program, and thank you for doing that. And I will be this Sunday at 10:30 a.m. I'll be speaking at a women's conference at One Church Charlotte. And so feel free, if you're not at your own church, obviously, because I do not want you to be coming and you're supposed to be at any other church that you're already a member of. But if you don't have a church and want to come and be a part of this experience, feel free to do so. And the information is on my Facebook page. But if you are a part of the Charlotte community and you're looking for a church to attend, Pastor Selwyn, please let them know how they can stay connected with you one more time too, because he's the pastor at Servant Church. I'm sure I go there a lot too, because I love Pastor Selwyn and Lady Cassandra.
And we love you too. And if you hit this link that's showing now, it'll give you every handle I have, everything that I'm involved in. It'll point you to that. But simply, if you just go to to our Facebook page, which will lead you to our website, it gives you the address, service times, and how to connect with us virtually during the week for Bible study.
And they are true servant leaders. I want you to know that. I've worked alongside them, and they've worked alongside me in many years. And to have them lead a church and it's called Servant Church, which is their heart. Both of their hearts is servant leadership. Please make sure you check out Servant Church in Charlotte, North Carolina. And what about your church, Carrianne? Because I know that you're in Charlotte as well, and your dad and mom lead ministry. So tell people how they can stay connected.
Oh, yeah. Change the World Church. We have service at 3 p.m. We're all about changing the world one person at a time, because we can't change, or family at a time. And we're right off of Independence Boulevard, 7508 East Independence Boulevard, Suite 114, right across from the CarMax dealership at 3 p.m. So you can go to Servants Church, and you can come to our church, because we have it at 2 different times.
You can go to Canada if you want to, right?
Exactly.
I don't know if you're going to be in Canada, then you can go to church with Natasha. Where you want to say anything about your worship experience?
Sure, I'll just say my church is called Open Arms. It's in Pickering, which is just east of Toronto.
What is it called again?
It's called Open Arms.
Open Arms. So if you're in the Toronto area, then you can go there. If you're in Charlotte, you can do some and go to a variety of experiences and have a wonderful worship experience. Okay, y'all, listen.
Carrianne, I just wanted to say we're definitely going to visit. Yes, thank you.
I'm coming to visit y'all too. Absolutely.
I'm making some connections here, even amongst the panelists, because see, they don't really get to hang out with each other that much either. So this is some good stuff happening here, y'all. Lifelong friendships getting ready to form. Thank you, Pastor, someone said, and then someone else said, looking forward to hearing you, Kim Jacobs. All right. That's definitely my mama, y'all. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we will see you again on next week right here on the Kim Jacobs Show. Thank you, experts. Bye-bye, everybody. Oh, I forgot. I'm the one that's got to close us out. Have a great one. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Kim Jacobs Show and for being in the virtual studio audience. Your presence truly does make a difference, and I look forward to you bringing your friends and family to join you in the virtual studio audience Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you and make it a great day.